The Love Boat won't be seen tonight, so we can bring you a very special episode of The Gen X Files. Welcome to The Gen X Files. I'm Jim.
I'm Adam.
And today's show is all about
Quantum Leap. I can't think of another theme song that does not fit a show more than the Quantum Leap theme song.
Goofballs.
I love this show so much, and I had forgotten. Of course, when I was like 10 and this was on, I thought it was the greatest thing ever.
Oh, yeah. Well, they churched it up for the fifth
They did.
season.
I think Mike Post left the show because he did create the theme song, and then
I'd leave the show, too. That was my contribution.
I think he did most of the music for the first 4 seasons, but then they had somebody else come in. And I got to be honest, the 5th season, that theme song, it's even worse.
Well, yeah, but it's very 90s.
It loses all of the 80s charm. Anyway, so welcome to First Loves. This is our second installment.
Yes.
We did cover $6 Million Man last week. If you have not listened to it yet, please give it a listen.
Yes, with Steve Austin.
It's a really fun show. $6 Million Man is the epitome of the 70s. Much like, to me, Quantum Leap is the epitome of the 90s or the 80s, even though it was mostly in the 90s.
Late 80s, early 90s.
Yeah, that time period was all kind of, you got a gray area.
There's a lot of similarities in these two shows.
There are.
That we'll bring up, but very similar in terms of... The one thing about this show and the $6 Million Man, one thing that they share is neither of these shows really knew what they were.
No, they just kind of went with whatever.
For both of them, it really worked to their benefit rather than their detriment.
Yeah.
It's very rare for a show to be so confused about itself and
yet still be so successful.
So entertaining.
Well, kind of. I do think the $6 Million Man was a lot more popular than Quantum Leap was.
Maybe, yeah, I guess. But the diehard fans, the Leapers.
Oh, yeah. Well, I mean, they brought it back. I mean, they brought back another show. So, I mean, obviously there's some popularity there.
They did. And they did a really cool thing. Rather than like the Abomination that is the Magnum remake, the Abomination, they made this a continuation of the show.
Yeah, it's a sequel, sequel essentially. Yeah, we'll get to that, and it's good. I'm actually surprised I hadn't watched it until we decided we were going to cover this. And,
Same. And
I'm kind of surprised by how much I'm enjoying it.
I am too. I'm waiting for the episode where they explain Al's fashion choices.
Never.
I told Adam as we were watching the finale that I just see Al going like, I'm going to put on this weird costume. So Sam thinks that fashion is so bizarre.
Once he found out he had a Swiss cheese brain, he was like, I'm going to confuse him.
Yeah, I'm going to order from Magicians R Us.
There's a great website. I don't remember what it's called. It's Al's like imaging chamber or something, but it goes through every episode, and it literally has a section of what Al wore during that episode.
Nice. It must have been fun for him to put on that costume.
Made no sense. It was supposed to be. It came out in '89. It was supposed to be set in '95, and literally the first 10 seconds of the show is him in some weird 2050 Ferrari.
Yeah,
like it didn't make any sense.
The leaps of technology that people imagine within just a few years is ridiculous.
I know.
It's like all of a sudden everything changes. It takes forever.
Yeah, if they had just done that with the internet, they would have been right.
No. Look at you.
Anyway, I love Quantum Leap. It's what kind of started my love affair with time travel. And I love the idea of a guy being lost in time trying to find his way home.
It's funny watching it. But how old were you when you started watching this?
10 or 11.
Yeah, it was on 10 o'clock a lot, too, right?
Yeah, quite a bit. And I made my parents let me stay up to watch it.
Nice.
Like, I shouldn't say made my parents. I asked, and they were like, okay.
Listen, old people. Your parents just came out to visit. It was very lovely.
Yeah,
I'm the Farkle champion of the world.
You are, actually.
Sorry, guys. But, it's a lot more adult than...
Yeah.
The $6 Million Man is essentially a kid show.
It's much more family friendly.
That didn't dumb it down for adults.
No.
It had something for everybody, but it was essentially a show for kids.
Yeah.
I think this is more a show for adults.
Yeah.
Because of the melodrama.
Yeah,
and some of the themes. It was damn, dude, you were watching some pretty serious stuff.
They covered some pretty heavy stuff from the get-go. Yeah.
It's just really weird to see Scott Bakula as a black dude, coming in and solving racism. Caesar.
Well,
but that's the 90s.
apparently he didn't. Because it didn't.
It took a white guy going into a black guy to have him stand up and sit at the counter. I'm just
Whole
saying.
new level of savior complex.
Yes.
Which, ironically, Sam Beckett is the epitome of the savior
Oh,
complex.
yes. But his heart is in the right place. He's not,
He is.
He's a Boy Scout. He's much more of a Boy Scout than Steve Austin. I think he's...
Oh, yeah.
He has a set of morals that are just to the right of Jesus. To the left of Jesus?
Left of Jesus, I think.
But it's part of his charm, too. And it evolves, the beginning
yeah.
where he's like, man, it's adultery, that's wrong, until him making out with just about everyone.
Well, it's interesting because in this show, and again, we'll talk about this more later, but like it's interesting compared to the new show, because the new show you actually get to know the guy who leaps, the main character. You know him a little bit before he gets in the accelerator. But in Quantum Leap, he's just doing it, and he's gone. So you have no idea what his personality was like.
You learn along with him about his past.
But granted, it might also be that maybe he wasn't the nicest guy. I mean, like his brain he had all that amnesia. Like he just kind of had to be like, okay, well, I'm going to do this. And he's got a weird hologram dude that's telling him got to fix this thing,
For all intents and purposes, I mean, they all say he's a great guy. He's a great guy.
Yes.
In the new one, it's interesting because the Al character is played by his wife or fiance.
They're not married yet.
And at the beginning, he doesn't know who she is. But then he does, of course, because of love.
The pilot was great at the end when he was like, I don't know you, but I felt very comfortable around you.
It makes it more interesting having that connection, because then it doesn't turn into, kiss of the week.
Making out with everybody. Randomly having sex with people.
The one that was the weirdest, I know we need to get started, but I just want to get into this real quick and then we'll get started. The one that was the weirdest was the Abigail 3-parter with Laura Walters.
Yeah.
Where he jumps into Abigail's father when Abigail's like 10 years old.
Yeah.
To get her off of a murder charge.
Right.
Because she supposedly murdered a kid over a locket. Solves that problem. Jumps out and then jumps into her fiance.
Yeah.
And so he's making out with her and doing the do.
It's weird.
After he was her dad. And then he jumps out of that one, jumps back in as an old dude.
A lawyer.
Because she's on trial again for murder. Poor person is the most... She's worse than Dr. Richard Kimball when it comes to being...
We will talk about that. We'll talk about that more. Because that was during the 5th season when even less they knew what they wanted to do. And I think they thought they had an idea, and then the show got canceled.
It was very interesting. It's just there was some creep factor to a lot of it.
No.
And I'm looking at you, Al.
Well, even the episode with Neil Patrick Harris as a greaser, where he has to end up making out with a 13-year-old. It's like,
and he wasn't making out with Neil Patrick Harris.
No,
making out
with the 13-year-old girl.
Neil Patrick Harris's girlfriend.
No,
it was
it's like a friend.
The tomboy.
That
they ended up dolling up like a whore.
Wow. All right. Well, on that note, take yourself back to 1989.
Nice.
March 4th, Time Inc. and Warner Communications announced plans for a merger, forming Time Warner, which has now become Warner Brothers Discovery.
Yep, to the detriment of everyone.
It was the beginning of the end.
Well, Zaslav is the beginning of the end.
Well, yeah. March 12th, Tim Berners-Lee submits a memorandum titled Information Management, a proposal to the management at CERN for a system that would eventually become the World Wide Web.
Nice.
Yeah. March 13th, a geomagnetic storm causes the collapse of the Hydro-Quebec power grid. 6 million people are left without power for 9 hours. Some areas in the northeastern U.S. and in Sweden also lose power, and aurorae are seen as far as Texas.
Yeah, there's a lot of conspiracy theories about that when it came out.
That was when Sam started leaping.
Yeah, he caused it.
March 26th, the first episode of Quantum Leap airs. God, I love the theme song, but it just does not fit the show at all.
It does not.
It does not. So Quantum Leap comes from the mind of Donald P. Bellisario.
Yeah, baby.
He might sound familiar because he actually did create Magnum PI as well.
He did. The greatest show ever.
Yeah. Bellisario served in the U.S. Marine Corps from 1955 to 1959 and attained the rank of sergeant.
Never let us forget it. Every one of his characters is a Marine.
He has to. He's heavily influenced by the military.
You think?
According to Bellisario, he encountered and nearly got into a fight with Lee Harvey Oswald in 1958 at a supply shed at Marine Air Control Squadron 9 because Oswald was reading Pravda, which offended Bellisario.
Ooh, I'm offended. He put that in the Oswald two-parter.
Well, that's part of the reason he wrote that is because he was convinced that Oswald did it alone because he talked to him.
Right.
And knew that he was crazy.
Yeah.
And he hated the government. But he was personally, I guess, quote unquote, personally knew him. But yeah, he had talked to Lee.
Ran into him.
Yeah. After earning a bachelor's degree in journalism at Pennsylvania State University in 1961, Bellisario became an advertising copywriter in 1965, and 3 years later became creative director of the Bloom Agency in Dallas, Texas.
Yeah, advertising was everything in the 60s. That was like the job.
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah. After rising to senior vice president after 8 years, he then moved to Hollywood to pursue screenwriting and production.
Crazy that he was successful in a whole different career and then was just like, F it, I'm going to go to Hollywood.
Guess I'm going to go write some TV shows. After working under such television producers as Glenn A. Larson and Stephen J. Cannell,
Two of the best.
Bellisario adopted some of their production techniques, for example, using a small pool of actors for his mini productions. Yeah, once he found people he liked, he used them all the time.
Cool.
He wrote for Big Hawaii and Kojak and produced, wrote, and directed Baba Black Sheep in 1977.
Yeah, with Robert Conrad. That was a good show.
We've talked about it before, and I've never seen it. I need to watch it.
Look up Robert Conrad Duracell battery commercials because he has this commercial where he like,
Oh, yeah,
knock
yeah,
it
yeah.
off my shoulder.
Yes.
Come on, tough guy.
Yeah, come on, tough guy.
But that was Robert Conrad.
Okay.
He was great. He was also the star of Wild Wild West. He was
the
Agent
show?
West, yeah.
No, he wasn't Will Smith.
No.
He Bellisario wrote and directed and produced Battlestar Galactica in 1978 and produced Quincy M.E. in 1979.
Two great shows.
Yeah.
Very different.
I always associate Battlestar Galactica with Glenn A. Larson, but
Well, yeah.
it was Bellisario that actually came up with the idea.
Right, but Larson produced it.
Yes. And put his fingerprint all over it in the form of Mormonism.
Sure.
He created his first show in...
That's true, right?
He did, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, he took the idea, and then it's essentially like a Mormon story.
Weird.
I mean, not to the detriment of the show, and definitely the new version does not follow that, but it's...
No, the new version follows Scientology pretty to the letter.
Yeah, they fly 747s in space.
Yeah, well, the leader's name is Xenu. Commander Xenu.
Okay. So Bellisario created his first show in 1980, The Amazing Magnum PI.
Yeah, baby. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Magnum.
God, your forehead is about to explode there.
I love that show so much.
It ran for 8 seasons and 162 episodes and was immensely popular. That was a theme song that Mike Post did right.
That was one of the greatest theme songs ever.
So good. Yeah, we did do a Magnum PI episode, so please listen to that for more info on Magnum PI.
Please do.
And you get to hear Jim do the theme song 1,800 times.
Basically, the entire show is
It's
just
great.
me beatboxing.
Just a bed of the music from Magnum PI. Bellisario followed up Magnum PI with Tales of the Gold Monkey, an action-adventure drama set in the year 1938.
Not the greatest show ever.
No, it debuted the year after Raiders of the Lost Ark, but audiences were not as into it, and it only ran for 1 season.
Yeah, starring the child molester from Seventh Heaven.
No, was it?
I think so.
Oh, God.
Yeah.
I didn't realize that was him.
Who's now married and living
he's
somewhere.
awful.
And
Yeah, well.
doesn't really have any repercussions for being a child molester, apparently.
Yay! Bellisario created Airwolf in 1984, a military action drama that centered on a high-technology attack helicopter codenamed Airwolf.
Airwolf. That was a ripoff of Blue Thunder.
Blue Thunder?
Yeah.
Was it the movie?
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember
With
that.
Roy Scheider. And,
Yeah.
That was a great movie.
It was.
And Tales from the Blue Monkey. That Golden Monkey. I remember watching it because I was a huge Raiders fan.
Yeah, it was that's kind of serial drama, like action adventure drama.
It was a Raiders ripoff with a not very charismatic lead.
Yeah.
Who ended up molesting children.
Right. We covered that. So Airwolf star Jan Michael Vincent, Ernest Borgnine, and Alex Cord.
Yeah, he wore the glasses just like those babies.
Oh, he
with the
did.
one
Yeah,
thing out.
the Aviators. Yeah. The series ran for 55 episodes on CBS in the United States in 1984 through 86, and an additional 24 episodes with a new cast and production company on the USA Network in 1987 for a total of 79 episodes.
Yeah, USA was one of the first cable networks.
Yeah.
And it was a staple of a lot of really good reruns.
It was constantly. They showed great movies at night, overnight. It was great.
Airwolf was a weird show. I wanted to like Airwolf. I should have liked Airwolf, but there was just a weirdness to it. And that weirdness is named Jan Michael
I was
Vincent.
just going to say, I'm not a fan of Jan Michael Vincent.
Well, he had a lot of issues.
He did. Bellisario left the show after season 2 when the studio wanted to rework his concept to make it more fun.
Yeah, well, that's not a bad idea. It was a little,
I
take
know.
itself a little too seriously.
Unfortunately, Jan Michael Vincent's alcoholism was also a problem.
Oh, my God.
He was a drinker.
Oh, my God. I used to listen to Howard Stern in the 90s,
Yeah.
And I don't know. I listened to him in the 2000s, too, I guess. I just haven't listened to him since he went to Sirius.
Yeah.
But he used to have Jan Michael Vincent on a lot. And this was back when he, wasn't the really good interviewer or whatever reinvention he's done to himself, Mr. Stern. And it was just so exploitative. And he would just come on, and it was so
that's sad.
embarrassing.
Yeah.
And just, he was akin to a homeless guy. I mean, he would come in there and make no sense, and it was just them. It was cruel. It was cruel what he did to Jan Michael Vincent.
He was not in on the joke.
Even if he was in on the joke, he was not sober or clear enough to be in on
So
the
he
joke.
wasn't in on the joke.
It was very exploitative and very cruel.
So Bellisario wrote, produced, and directed Last Rites in 1988, his first feature film. Do you remember this movie?
I do, actually. I think I saw it in the theater.
Oh, nice.
I was a big Tom Berenger fan at the time.
It stars Tom Berenger, Daphne Zuniga, and Chick Verena. The film was both a commercial and critical failure and caused a significant amount of controversy because of the touchy subject matter.
Oh, my God. You couldn't do anything against the Catholics back then without getting your whole career destroyed.
Well, now, granted, the storyline was a little convoluted.
Okay.
Angela, the beautiful Mexican mistress of a New York mobster, asks virginal Father Michael for protection after Zena, the mobster's wife, kills her cheating husband. Michael becomes torn between his vows, Angela, and his sister, Zena.
Okay.
Essentially, it's about spoiling a priest.
Sure.
Yeah.
Is Daphne Zuniga playing
I think
Spanish person?
Yeah, I think she does. I'm pretty sure she does.
Oh, that's the offensive part.
Yeah, well, the whole movie was pretty offensive.
I remember it wasn't even. It's like so tame. All this stuff is just like
yes.
it's just any hint of anti-Catholicism back then was insane. You remember not the Passion of the Christ, but was the Passion of the Christ
The Last Temptation of Christ?
Yes,
With
that was
Scorsese?
Scorsese's.
Yeah,
oh my God, I thought the whole world was going to
Oh, they
explode.
were. I thought that they were going to burn down movie theaters. Yeah.
Okay.
Roger Ebert, himself raised Catholic, gave the film a 0-star rating, writing,
Yeah, this is it. Located at last. What? Okay. This is it. Located at last and with only 6 weeks to spare. The worst film of 1988, Last Rites, qualifies because it passes both acid tests. It is not only bad filmmaking, but it is offensive as well. Offensive to my intelligence. All right, easy, buddy.
I'm going to apologize to Roger Ebert every time you quote him.
That's exactly what he sounded like
That's not what he said.
when he was off air.
Yeah.
When he was with his
When he
friends.
wasn't in character? Yeah. So in the United States, the film grossed $427,000, making it one of the biggest box office bombs of 1988.
Got my $3.
And also, surprisingly enough, it was Bellisario's last feature film. He literally never made another feature film after this.
Well, I don't know for
He
missing out.
he went to after creating Quantum Leap, he created JAG,
He's a TV guy.
ran for 10 seasons, NCIS, which has run for 20 seasons with 457 episodes and has been renewed for a 21st season.
Yeah, old people love that show.
It is the third longest running scripted program on TV as of 2023, surpassed only by Law & Order Special Victims Unit starting in 1999 and still running, and Law & Order, which ran from 1990 2010, but then came back in 2022 and is still running.
Well, what about The Simpsons? Simpsons started in 89.
Third longest, I don't know. Apparently they're not counting sitcoms.
Wow.
I think they mean like hour-long dramas.
All right, but that seems BS. The Simpsons been around forever.
Whatever.
I love The Simpsons.
NCIS has also spawned 4 spin-offs, NCIS Los Angeles, NCIS New Orleans, NCIS Hawaii, and NCIS Sydney.
Australia.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I know. This is the funny thing is everyone's like, what? And it's like, well, technically, they still have jurisdiction.
They have a base there.
The base,
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not... it just started. I don't know if it's going to continue.
It probably will. It's like a cult, this NCIS.
I know.
CBS is a cult for oldies. I know I've become old when I start watching CBS regularly.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's very true. The main premise for Quantum Leap was inspired by such movies as Here Comes Mr. Jordan in 1941 and Heaven Can Wait in 1978, co-written, directed, and starring Warren Beatty.
Yeah, which was also a remake.
Yes, it was both of those are being based on the Harry Siegel 1938 play Heaven Can Wait.
Or Plea.
He pleaded with people to watch it.
Pled with them, yeah.
Quantum Leap was also inspired by the 1960s TV show The Time Tunnel, created by Irwin Allen.
Ooh, from disaster fame. Listen to our disaster.
Yeah, listen to our disaster episode. We actually had a lot of fun in the disaster episode.
Yeah, we're in disasters.
We ride an avalanche of debris down a skyscraper. It's really fun.
You just have to listen.
Yeah. Bellisario saw its concept as a way of developing an original anthology series, as anthologies were unpopular with the networks.
That's weird, because they weren't. I mean, they would come around like you'd get the amazing stories or...
Those were all pre-'89, though. Like,
Right.
I think at this point, they had kind of fallen by the wayside.
Yeah, it was just... They figured that people needed characters to get attached to, and they didn't want to just watch, But I loved anthology series.
I did, too. I thought they were great.
I mean, that's... Twilight Zone's an anthology series.
It is. Scott Bakula was cast as Sam Beckett, our wayward time traveler.
I'm Sam Beckett.
Sam Beckett has a doctorate in physics, and in the near future theorizes that time travel is possible within our own lifetimes.
I think it's possible within our own lifetime.
A concept that is totally destroyed by the 5th season because he just jumps wherever.
Oh, yeah.
Beckett obtains government support to build his project Quantum Leap. Some years later, having already spent $43 billion.
With a B.
The government threatens to halt funding as no progress has been made, and Sam decides to test the project accelerator by himself to save the project before anyone can stop him.
All right, that makes sense.
Yeah, except for the fact that what if they just go, no, we're not going to give any more money, and then he's just gone forever.
Nobody said he thought,
it
into
through
the future.
very
Yeah.
well. He is thrown back in time, and on regaining consciousness, finds that while he physically exists in the past, he appears to everyone else as a person into whom he had leapt.
The one thing that really bugged me about that, eye lines.
Oh, yeah.
And I get it, and it, it didn't bother me all the time or whatever, but it's like, he's a 13-year-old boy, and all of a sudden the lady's like looking up at him.
Hey there, you're 6'1".
It's like weird.
I know. He also had partial amnesia related to his own identity, so he did not know who he was.
The Swiss cheese brain.
Swiss cheese brain. Everything went a little caca.
Little caca.
Sam has 6 doctoral degrees, a black belt in kung fu, a photographic memory, and near virtuistic musical talent, allowing him to easily slip into the shoes of many different people.
Don't forget that he also speaks 8 languages.
He does. He's also described as bookish and naive.
Yeah, he was pretty naive. But good, because he didn't have time to do anything except get doctorates and learn how to be a kung fu guy.
Yeah.
He never really uses his kung fu, though. He doesn't seem like a very capable
It literally
fighter.
came up in one episode. I think it was the only way they could get out of it was to go, oh, yeah, he knows kung fu.
He knows kung fu, too. Yeah. Whatever, he's smart.
Bakula moved to New York City to pursue acting after dropping out of college in 1976, where he was acting on stage.
Okay, so what sport did he get injured in?
I don't think he was not an athlete. I don't think he was
Really?
an athlete. I think he started the acting bug was very early for him.
Okay, so our first non-athlete. He looks like he could be an athlete.
He definitely could, yeah.
Well, full on looks like a football player or something.
Well, I mean, he played one in Necessary Roughness.
Yes, and I think he played one in Quantum Leap too.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. A couple times.
He had to win the game when he went back as a 16-year-old.
Right.
He had
Oh,
to
yeah.
He had to beat No-Nos.
Well, the very second person that he jumps into is a baseball player.
No-Nos. You know why they called him No-Nos?
Because he didn't have a nose?
Because the tip of his nose got cut off by a thresher.
Oh,
And that's so mean. And he's just a boy. He's just a 16-year-old kid playing football, and they call him No-Nos.
So he made his professional debut in the 1977 national tour of the musical Shenandoah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
That
I
was
don't know
huge.
Shenandoah at all.
You know the music.
Probably. He made his Broadway debut in 1982 as an understudy in the short-lived musical Is There Life After High School?
No.
I wonder why it didn't run for very long. It seems like a terrible idea for a musical. He received a Shared Drama Desk Award nomination for Outstanding Ensemble Acting for his performance in the 1985 off-Broadway production of Three Guys Naked from the Waist Down.
Ugh.
Yeah.
Just a bunch of guys flopping weens.
Pretty much.
Okay.
The success of Three Guys off-Broadway brought him attention, and when his next show, the musical Nightclub Confidential, which co-starred his wife Krista Newman, moved to Los Angeles, he moved there at the urging of his agents.
All right.
He was actually cast in 2 short-lived TV shows, Gung Ho and Eisenhower and Lutz.
You know what's so insane is I remember both of these shows.
Do you? I remember Gung Ho. I don't remember Eisenhower and Lutz.
I do.
Gung Ho was the TV extension of the 1986 movie starring Michael Keaton and Getty Watanabe. Mm-hmm. Most of the Japanese actors from the movie reprised their roles in the TV show, with Clint Howard being the only non-Japanese actor to reprise his role for the show.
Ooh, what a get.
Because it's Clint Howard and he needed work.
Clint Howard does anything.
He does. Bakula took on the role that Michael Keaton played in the film. It premiered in the fall of 1986 and ran for 9 episodes before being canceled.
It was not very good.
It literally was put into production like... The movie came out in like May of '86, and by that fall they had the show on TV.
Yeah.
Like it was just way too fast.
They had shows for Animal House. They had shows for Ferris Bueller's Day Off. They had shows for Fast Times at Ridgemont High.
Yeah.
Like every movie
it
had
spawned something, and none of them were successful. Horrible. None of them were good.
Horrible spinoffs.
Yeah.
Especially the ones that were R-rated movies that were
I know.
sanitized for TV.
What's the point of that? Eisenhower and Lutz was a sitcom in 1988 about an ambulance-chasing lawyer from producer Alan Burns, who created and wrote the television sitcoms The Munsters and The Mary Tyler Moore Show. It debuted in March of 1988 and lasted 13 episodes before being canceled.
It wasn't that bad. It was pretty funny.
During the Hollywood writer's strike in 1988, he returned to New York to star in Romance on Broadway. For his performance as Alfred von Wilmers and Sam, he was nominated for the 1988 Tony Award for Best Actor in a Musical.
Nice.
He was then cast as Dr. Sam Beckett in Quantum Leap.
You could tell though that he's a theater guy.
Theater guy, yeah.
He's got some of them traps, some of them trappings.
He does. His performance in the show earned him a Golden Globe Award along with 3 nominations and 4 Emmy Award nominations for Best Actor, as well as 5 consecutive Viewers for Quality Television Awards for Best Actor in a Quality Drama Series.
Look, playing Sam Beckett in any other actor's hands, or just about any other actor's hands, could have just been really small.
Schmaltzy.
Could have been really schmaltzy and very sappy and saccharine, but he found a way to make all of the material earnest. I mean, he does a very much like Lee Majors. He owned this part and found a way to have him transcend the material.
Yeah,
if that makes sense.
Yeah. He made it relatable. It was really good.
We were watching because of him.
Yes.
And Dean Stockwell.
Well, him and Dean Stockwell, yeah. Bakula made his film debut in Sibling Rivalry in 1990, directed by Carl Reiner, and starring Kirstie Alley, Sam Elliott, Jamie Gertz, Bill Pullman, and Carrie Fisher.
I remember this.
Sibling Rivalry? I don't remember this at all.
I worked in a video store. I watched it.
Right. It was lambasted by the critics, did not do very well. The following year, in 1991, while still filming in Quantum Leap, Bakula starred in Necessary Roughness, the sports comedy also starring
Hector Elizondo, Robert Loggia, Harley Jane Kozak, Larry Miller, Sinbad, Jason Bateman, Kathy Ireland, Rob Schneider, and Fred Dalton Thompson.
While it didn't really blow anybody away, and it did okay in the box office, I love this movie so much.
It's really fun.
It was one of those that was just on like Cinemax or Showtime like all the time.
Yeah, and it was it was during the heyday of the underdog sports movie.
Very much started with Major League, and then kind of the weird, goofy.
Really started with Bad News Bears.
Well, yes.
And then, it's always been a staple. We've always
80s,
had the lovable losers.
Yeah. After Quantum Leap, Bakula starred in Lord of Illusions in 1995, written and directed by Clive Barker, based off of a story from his Books of Blood series.
That's a guilty pleasure.
I don't think I've ever seen it.
It's not good, but it is fun to watch him playing
Oh, like a
Like
that kind
detective.
of detective guy. Yeah.
Like I was so excited for this movie. I was not a Clive Barker fan, but it sounded really cool, like this,
Yeah.
supernatural detective type of thing.
Yeah, yeah, and it was the character that he played was huge in Clive Barker's novels, and people loved him. And unfortunately, the movie had mixed reviews, didn't make a ton of money. It was also Bakula's last starring role in a major motion picture.
He's a TV guy.
He's a TV guy.
He just was, and that's just, it's unfortunate. Some guys never find their click. Look
Yeah.
at Tom Selleck. He had a few hits in the movies, but he's a TV guy.
But he's a TV guy,
90%.
Yeah. Bakula would have a lot more success in TV. He had a recurring role as a potential love interest in the sitcom Murphy Brown, appearing in 13 episodes over a couple of seasons.
He was really good on that.
He landed the role of Captain Jonathan Archer in the Star Trek spin-off Enterprise in 2001.
The one Star Trek show that I've never seen an episode of.
It's funny. I started watching it, and as soon as the theme song came on, I turned it off because it is the worst theme song
Really?
of all time. It does not fit the show at all. It's like a weird, slow country ballad.
Ugh.
Yeah, it doesn't make any sense.
Yay.
And I've literally never watched it since.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's the 6 Star Trek series. It ran for 98 episodes over 4 seasons, featuring the crew of the first Enterprise, making it a prequel to all the other shows. Like I just said, it has the worst theme song ever in the history of television.
It's also like the least popular of all the Star Trek shows.
It's not. Nobody really ever talks about it. And
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not beloved like Next Generation or
No.
or Deep Space Nine, DS9.
It was like, I think a lot of people were like, why are you going back? Because at that point, it had gone Next Generation, and, like they were all kind of continuing in the future. And then this one, they're like, oh, we're going to go back to the very beginning. And
I don't think there was a Star Trek show on at that time, right?
no, I think by that point, they'd all been done.
Right.
Yeah.
So we were all aching for a new Star Trek show, and this was not the one we were asking for.
I'm sure it's probably not bad. I mean,
Take a look.
Yeah.
I'll take a look at it.
Yeah. He would land the role of Dwayne King Pride in NCIS New Orleans, a character introduced in a 2-episode story during the 11th season of NCIS as a backdoor pilot.
Yeah, that accent he uses. How long? How going to get you on the courts there? Hey, it's his acting, not me.
NCIS New Orleans ran for 155 episodes over 7 seasons, finally being canceled in 2021.
Oh, wow.
That's crazy. I
have no concept of any of that. JAG or NCIS, it's just a whole other world.
I put this in the same realm as like Grey's Anatomy, where like I hear about it and it's like, wait, they're still making that?
Yeah.
And it's the same. NCIS is the same way. It's like, really?
Well, they got to have something on the TVs in the old folks' homes.
That's true. Bakula always seemed to have fun with his fame, playing himself in a great episode of What We Do in the Shadows.
Oh, what did he do?
Played himself.
I don't remember that one.
You don't remember that?
No.
It was in like the 2nd season, I think.
Oh.
Yeah, he was. I think it was at a convention or something.
He's great.
Yeah, he's funny. He pokes fun at himself a lot. I think he gets it. Bakula can most recently be seen in Divinity, a feature film starring Steven Dorff.
Ugh.
It's probably not very good.
Is it a churchy movie?
I don't know. I didn't even look it up. Okay. I'm sure it has something to do with. I think it's with Catholic mythology. I think.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, good for him. He's had a very long, strong career.
Yeah, he's been working the whole time.
And he's a solid dude. He's a solid actor. He's like he's not too fancy or frilly. He just gets the job done.
I mean, the fact that he did, 91 episodes of Quantum Leap, that he's done 155 episodes of NCIS, that right there is enough for somebody's career. But he's been in some great movies, and he's always a very solid actor.
Sure.
Yeah. Dean Stockwell was cast as Al Calavicci. Al was an admiral in the Navy, appearing as a hologram, visible and audible only to Sam, and helps to explain to Sam that he must correct something that went wrong in the past, aided with the resources of the project's supercomputer Ziggy, the self-aware artificial intelligence.
Parallel hybrid computer with an ego.
Yeah. Al is a womanizing cigar-smoking 5-time divorcee who grew up in an orphanage, was active in the civil rights movement, and was a prisoner of war in Vietnam.
Yeah, he's an interesting character.
He is. I mean, honestly, for everything that we don't know about Scott Bakula's character, about Sam, Al fills in everything.
Well, he's a good foil for the Boy Scout because
Yeah.
he's Sam was always chastising him for his womanizing ways.
It was early on in the first season. They had to find. Oh, it was in the Humphrey Bogart episode, and they're in a Union Station downtown L.A. And Al suddenly walks out of phases through a door, and he's like, "Where were you?" He's like, "Well, I was in the ladies' room. I had to check to see if anybody was in there."
Ugh.
It was just like, really? Well, that was early on in the first season. They toned him down a little bit after that.
Yeah, well, there was a lot of casual sexism and racism in the 90s.
Oh, yeah. Stockwell started as a child actor under contract to Metro Goldwyn Mayer, appearing in 2 films in 1945 at the age of 9. The Valley of Decision, starring Greer Garson and Gregory Peck. And Anchors Away, starring Frank Sinatra, Katherine Grayson, and Gene Kelly.
Great movie. Have you seen him as a child actor?
I have. I've seen Anchors Away, so I have. I don't think I realized it was him.
Right.
Yeah. He would appear in 17 other films during his childhood career. Stockwell found being a child actor difficult overall, stating,
I didn't enjoy acting particularly when I was young. I thought it was a lot of work. There were a few films that I enjoyed. They were comedies. They were not important films. They weren't very successful, so I was always pretty much known as a serious kid. I got those kind of roles, and I didn't care for them very much.
He found that this work meant that he didn't have any friends except his brother, he was constantly working with only one holiday in 9 years.
Yeah, there wasn't a lot of child protective services on the sets back then.
No, he said it was
a miserable way to bring up a child, though. Neither my parents nor I recognized it at the time.
Yeah, that's awful. I can't imagine starting at 9 and into most of your teen years not having friends.
No.
That's crazy. Stockwell graduated from Alexander Hamilton High School in Los Angeles and attended the University of California, Berkeley for a year before dropping out.
I was unhappy and could not get along with people.
He didn't have a childhood.
He probably didn't have very good social skills,
Yeah,
and especially dealing with peers his own age. He was used to working with people older than he is.
He took a number of years off and resumed his acting career as an adult in 1956. As a young adult, he had a lead role in the 1957 Broadway and 1959 screen adaptation of Compulsion, based on the Leopold and Loeb story.
It's a good movie. That is such a crazy story, too.
Yeah. The play is really good.
Yeah.
In 1962, he played Edmund Tyrone in the film version of Long Day's Journey into Night, for which he won 2 Best Actor awards at the Cannes Film Festival.
Nice.
He was nominated for a Golden Globe Award for Best Actor, Motion Picture Drama, for his starring role in the 1960 film version of D.H. Lawrence's Sons and Lovers.
All right.
He would star in a number of Broadway plays and make guest appearances on numerous TV shows. In the mid-1960s, Stockwell dropped out of show business, becoming active in the Topanga Canyon hippie subculture as a close friend of visual artists George Herms and Wallace Berman, fellow child actor and dropout Russ Tamblyn, and musician Neil Young.
Oh, well, look at me now. I'm a lot like you were. Hey, do you know that Amber Tamblyn is Russ Tamblyn's daughter?
I did know that.
Yeah.
And Russ Tamblyn actually makes at least one appearance in Quantum Leap.
Yeah. Well, yeah, because they were good friends.
Yeah.
Okay. I did some drugs and went to some love-ins. The experience of those days provided me with a huge panoramic view of my existence that I didn't have before. I have no regrets.
Stockwell returned to acting with a supporting role in Psych Out in 1968, co-starring Susan Strasberg and Jack Nicholson.
Oh, such a weird, dumb movie. Have you seen it?
No, I don't think I've ever seen it.
It's like one of Nicholson's first.
Oh, yeah.
It's like totally like the hippie movement, Hollywood
Yeah.
style.
He played the lead in AIP's The Dunwich Horror in 1970 with Sandra Dee. He also had a key part in Dennis Hopper's The Last Movie in 1971.
Good movie.
He was really close friends with Dennis Hopper.
Oh, yeah.
He continued to guest for TV shows such as...
Police Surgeon. Police Surgeon? What a weird name for a show.
Weird show.
All right. The Streets of San Francisco. Columbo. John Forrester. 3 for the Road. Cannon. Ellery Queen. Police Story. McLeod. Tales of the Unexpected. Greatest Heroes of the Bible. Okay. Heart to Heart. The A-Team and Simon.
He continued to work with Neil Young, designing the cover for his 1967 album American Stars and Bars, and directing and appearing together in Human Highway in 1982, along with Russ Tamblyn, Dennis Hopper, and Devo. Yes, the band Devo.
Whip it good.
I've never seen Human Highway, and I now kind of want to see it.
I do. I love Devo.
By this time, Stockwell had moved to Taos, New Mexico, and was depressed about the state of his career, turning to real estate to pay the bills.
Man, this guy has lived it.
He's started and stopped his career like 8 times.
Yeah.
In 1984, he appeared in Wim Wenders' critically acclaimed film Paris, Texas, and the same year in David Lynch's film version of Dune as Wellington Ewa.
Ew. Paris, Texas is such a good movie by Wim Wenders. Have you seen that?
I have not.
It stars, I was going to say Dean Stockwell, but yeah. But no, it stars the guy that I used to watch sing at the Harry
Dean Stanton.
I was going to say Harry Connick Jr.
No.
My brain doesn't work today. Harry Dean Stanton was the star. It's an incredible.
I've heard really great things about it. It's been on my list. For a
Yeah,
long time.
no, it's one you definitely should see. After Paris, Texas, and Dune, I think I got a pretty good start on what amounts to a third career.
Yeah, it just blows my mind. This guy's career just blows my mind.
Because he's super talented, and he's probably a pretty chill dude,
Yeah, he seemed like he was nice. He was good, easy to get along with.
and just extremely talented.
Yes, very. In 1988, he was nominated for an Academy Award for Best Supporting Actor for his performance as mafia boss Tony the Tiger Russo in the comedy Married to the Mob.
No, that was great.
It's a great movie.
That was the breakout role for Michelle Pfeiffer.
Stockwell later recalled it.
The favorite part I've ever had in a film. I just felt that the part was just perfect for me, and I had a way to approach it that I thought was just right, and it turned out that way.
Yeah. He would work with Francis Ford Coppola on Gardens of Stone in 1987, co-starring James Caan, Angelica Houston, James Earl Jones, D.B. Sweeney, and Mary Stuart Masterson.
Yeah, how many people remember Gardens of Stone?
Nobody, because it was a massive box office flop.
Oh, it was.
He would work with Coppola again the following year on Tucker, The Man in His Dream, starring Jeff Bridges, which would also not make its budget back at the box office.
Which is a shame, because that was actually a really good movie.
I really liked that movie. It was another one of those that was on all the time when I was growing up.
It's just a very good movie, and it was one of Coppola's better, later
agreed.
life movies.
Yeah. He would receive 4 Emmy nominations for his work in Quantum Leap, never winning, as well as 4 Golden Globe nominations, winning once. Stockwell would continue to appear in TV shows after Quantum Leap, but they never found the success that Quantum Leap did. He would also continue to act in a ton of movies.
Yeah, one of my favorite performances of his was in The Player by Robert Altman.
Yeah.
He is talk about Bob. But I think he's like an agent or,
I think he's an agent.
But he's just got this
Yeah.
rhythm to his acting in that role that is just so unique.
Yeah.
And he's such a great foil for
Tim Robbins.
Tim Robbins, yeah. It's just and The Player is such a perfect
Oh, it's such a good movie.
Hollywood send-up.
Such
It's
a good
one of my favorite movies, one of my favorite Altman movies.
Yeah.
And if you haven't seen The Player, it is
Highly
deliciously wicked and so
good.
much fun to watch. And if you're a fan of Stockwell, you're going to love him in it.
Unfortunately, he suffered a stroke in 2015 and retired from acting. His last role was in the 2016 movie Max Rose, starring Jerry Lewis and Kevin Pollak.
Poor Kevin Pollak.
Yeah. Over a 7-decade career, Stockwell appeared in over 200 movies and TV shows. He died of natural causes in New Zealand on November 7th, 2021, at the age of 85.
Oh.
The exact cause of his death was never disclosed.
So sad.
Yeah.
They mention him in the new Quantum Leap.
They do.
The fact that he's dead.
Yeah. Yeah. The first episode was dedicated to him, too.
Yeah.
Because it came out about 6 months after he died, I think.
There's an episode that takes place before he died, and Magic, played by Ernie Hudson. He's got some Cubans that he's about to give him.
Sam and Al are the only characters to appear in every episode. The supporting characters of each episode are the friends, family, and acquaintances of the person Sam has leapt into. With a few exceptions, such as a 2-parter or sequel episodes, these characters only appear once, though several actors have played multiple characters.
Oh, yeah.
Guest stars include Bruce McGill, who played Al the bartender in the final episode of the series, who may or may not have been God, but he also played Weird Ernie in the pilot movie.
It was a nice bookend.
It was great. Terry Hatcher, who plays Sam's future fiancé.
Now, we watched that episode, right?
Yeah.
He doesn't, because he recognizes everybody else who were previously guest stars on the show as new characters. Did he do
did
that
not.
with Bruce?
No, he did not.
That's weird that they did that.
It is. Well, maybe because it was the very first guy. He didn't really talk to him very much.
Well, it would have been a lot more
He
interesting
had
if they put it in
much
there.
more Swiss cheese brain at that time.
Okay.
I don't know.
whatever.
I'm a Quantum Leap apologist.
I was going to say, whatever Quantum Leap apologist.
Rodney McDowell makes a guest appearance as the new hologram who takes over for Al when Sam accidentally gets Al killed in the gas chamber.
What are you talking about? I've always been here.
It's so messed up.
He's just like turns around and he's like, what?
He's like, oh, because he's literally like, there's a 97% chance that I'm going to go to the gas chamber. 98, 99, and then 100.
100.
Yeah. Melora Hardin, who plays Abigail in parts 2 and 3 in the trilogy, they called literally the trilogy.
Yeah, it's the creep. They should have called it the creeps.
Where in part 1, Sam jumps into Abigail's father when she's accused at 10 of killing a neighbor's father and disappearing their daughter, which also starred Meg Foster as Abigail's insane mother.
Yeah, she didn't have any lines in the first episode. She just looks very
Just
creepy.
those creepy eyes. In part 2, Sam jumps into Abigail's soon-to-be husband 11 years later, trying to save Abigail from being accused of murder and kidnapping by the same woman from 11 years prior again.
Oh, my God. So at the end of that episode, they're literally lynching her. They're literally putting the...
Wow.
And one guy, the guy that ends up... that he jumps into the third time, shows up and he's like, "What are you all doing? This is insane. You have to stop this. We'll just turn her over to the cops or whatever."
Mob justice did nothing.
They beat him and take his shotgun, and then Sam finally, he's got hit in the head, so he was knocked out. So he's lurching and lumbering towards her because he's all hurt, and he finally reaches there, shirt off, by the way, super sexy.
Yeah.
And he's like, "Stop! You can't do it." And they're like, "We're going to do it." And he's like, "Look, give me 5 hours and I'll give her back to you if we don't find the kid," because the kid's still alive.
Okay.
And then the one that accuses him, that in the third part is the one that gets killed, she grabs the shotgun and just like, chook, chook, boom. And they get away. They jump out just in time. But it was insane what these people were trying to do to her. They were literally going to string her up and have some mob justice.
Well, he also, in that part 2, he kind of falls for Abigail and
so gross.
Gets her pregnant.
Yeah, he impregnates the girl who he knew as a child who was her father.
Yeah. So in part 3, another 11 years later, Sam jumps into Abigail's lawyer, who Jim was just describing, to defend her being accused of killing the woman who accused her of murder twice.
Yeah. So this is the guy that helped stop her from being murdered in the second episode, but now he's old and retired.
Because the woman who said that you killed my husband and kidnapped my daughter twice.
Right. Is dead on her
they
kitchen
assumed
floor
that Abigail did.
because it was on her kitchen floor.
Yeah. Well.
So, and we all knew from the very beginning what it was. Suicide.
And we find out that Sam and Abigail had a daughter together, and she's now working on Project Quantum Leap, not knowing that Sam is her father.
So weird. She's super smart too because she's got his brains.
Yeah, she's got his DNA.
Yeah. So weird. Why? That also is like doesn't make any sense. Because it's not like his DNA goes into the people. His essence goes into their body. It would be the guy's.
No, it's actually him, though.
But he would be using the man's physical body and his physical DNA.
No, because that guy is in the future. You're just seeing because you can't see who they are. It's their aura. This is how it works. Because this is why later in the series, and we'll talk about it, but later in the series, to give Al somebody more to talk to than just Sam, they end up going to the waiting room all the time where the person's there to help them solve the mysteries and all that stuff. Yeah. One of those, in fact, was Willie Garson, who played Lee Harvey Oswald in the season 5 premiere. It was by this point in the show they would have the person in the waiting room so Al could actually act against someone else rather than everyone ignoring him on set.
Quite a performance, too, of Lee Harvey Oswald.
Oh, yeah.
Well, he was very... sneaky.
Yeah. Garson also plays an annoying sidekick in their film noir send-up in the first season.
Ugh. When they're just like, hey, you gotta beat feet because the birds are coming to crap on your head, and then the weasels are gonna get the wagon if you don't jump on the peaches and you get them in the breadbasket.
As much jargon as they could stuff into the episode, they did.
Yeah,
they did that a lot. I mean, it was
You'll recognize him. He had a big part on Sex and the City, and he was the best friend of. He was Ben Stiller's best friend in Something About Mary.
Oh yeah.
That's
right.
Hair
That's right.
And the pimples.
Yeah, that's right.
So gross.
Occasionally, Sam will also run into real-life historical figures, such as
Buddy Holly, Michael Jackson, Donald Trump, Marilyn Monroe, Bill Clinton, Stephen King, Woody Allen, Sylvester Stallone, and Ruth Westheimer.
The last of whom played herself.
Yes, and apparently, because I didn't make it to this episode, I will after the show at some point, but apparently she psychoanalyzes Al in the waiting room about his... Womanizing,
yeah.
So they kind of confront that in the 5th and final season.
Other notable guest stars include
Julianne Lowry, Charles Rocket, David Newsom, Susan Isaacs, Susan Diol, John Grease, Patricia Richardson, Susan Anton, Julie Brown, Bob Saget, Leon Rippey, Beverly Mitchell, John Cullum, Jennifer Runyon, Kay Callan, Susan French, Neil McDonough, Brooke Shields, Diedrich Bader, Jennifer Aniston, Pruitt Taylor Vince, Alan Oppenheimer, Joseph Gordon-Levitt, Daniel Roebuck, Hinton Battle, Russ Tamblyn, Chubby Checker playing himself, Dirk Blocker, Carla Gugino, Anna Gunn, Eric LaSalle, Stephen Root, Michael Madsen, Jason Priestley, Tia Carrera, Amy Ryan, Glenn Morshower, Judith Hoag, Megan Price, Nick Cassavetes, Mark Boone Jr., Patrick Warburton, CCH Pounder, Neil Patrick Harris, Frank Collision, and Bonnie Morgan. You know, what's funny is I don't think I saw... The only ones that I saw were...
Charles Rocket.
Charles Rocket and Neil Patrick Harris.
They're all in there.
Yeah.
I mean, they're all in there. Along with hundreds of others who I didn't recognize the names of. But God knows, every time you watch it, you see somebody and you're like, that guy.
Yes.
Or that lady.
Exactly.
Yeah. So some random facts about the show, because the show's super weird. Sam leaped into 9 women or teenage girls, including a woman, not a teenager, that had just been raped. Without Sam experiencing the rape itself.
How convenient.
Yeah, it was... although the lady who played the woman that got raped, she was in the waiting room, and then they did like a double exposure thing, and then eventually it was just her giving the testimony.
Oh.
Like it's her essentially telling Al to then say to Sam what the testimony is.
Did he ever make love as a woman? Was he ever penetrated?
I don't think so. Although he did play, he was in an episode where he leapt into an 8.5-month pregnant lady.
Well, 8.5 months after they did it.
Well, I mean, but he felt like the labor pains and stuff, like all that things. So, Sam leaped out of the United States 7 times. He went to Vietnam. He was in a plane over the Bermuda Triangle. He went to Egypt, Japan, the Soviet Union, a raft in international waters, and he went to England.
Of course.
Over the course of the series, Sam would leap into 10 non-white people, including Herbert Magic Williams in the Vietnam episode where Sam tries to save his brother.
Yeah, some of those were a little problematic.
Just a tad. Magic would be played by Ernie Hudson in the continuation show in 2022.
Brilliantly. I love Ernie.
He's so good. I love seeing him and everything. By the 5th season, the show had explored almost every aspect of time traveling into someone else's life. So they turned to exploring the origins of leaping, becoming a little bit more meta. They introduced an evil leaper who tries to make right things wrong.
The evil leaper.
Just glad that the new show changed to Leaper X, because it sounds so much better. It's still better than Evil Leaper.
What's weird is Leaper X is actually Malcolm X.
Oh,
Yeah.
That makes so much more sense then.
Yeah, he didn't die. He leapt. Yeah, it's really kind of racist.
In the first introduction of the Evil Leaper, when Sam and Aaliyah touch, they both realize who they are.
Oh, my God. Evil Leaper is the stupidest sounding thing ever. It would make a great name for a bad band.
It would, Evil Leaper.
Evil Leapers!
Aaliyah seduces Sam, who is just excited to see someone else that is leaping like him.
Oh my gosh, this is so exciting. You're leaping like me.
He thought he was the lonely leaper, but he's not.
I'm the lonely leaper. No, 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 no.
Unfortunately, right after they have sex, Aaliyah then makes it look like Sam raped her instead of it being consensual.
Well, that's not nice.
Nope, not at
That
all.
makes her evil.
When Aaliyah is ordered to kill Sam, she hesitates, and her hologram disappear in a frightening shimmer effect.
Yeah, she got all like...
And they
like she got
screamed.
popped. Yeah.
A few episodes later, they aired a 2-part episode on the same night called Return of the Evil Leaper and Revenge of the Evil Leaper.
Ugh, it's a lot of evil leaper.
So that some of the... Just at this point, I want to point out that most of the titles for the episodes of Quantum Leap were not good.
No, they were not.
Aaliyah returns, and finally they touch, and Sam devises a way to get her out of leaping against her will.
Sometimes when we touch, we leap way too much.
By holding on to her when he leaps.
Nice.
It works, but they end up in it, because apparently she's leaping. They torture her to make her do this. She doesn't want to be doing it.
Of course.
Yeah.
Of course. Now, how do they explain the hug leap of how they're able to leap together?
I don't know, because literally there's a 100 other episodes where he's touching somebody else when he leaps. I think it's because she is a leaper that they're able to leap together.
You know how they explain it?
How do they explain it?
It's season 5.
Yeah. They don't know. They're pretty sure they were going to get canceled by the end. Although they weren't entirely sure. Anyway.
No, but at least they were trying something new.
Yeah. It ends up working, but they end up in a women's prison, and Aaliyah's hologram leaps into the warden and ends up shooting Aaliyah, who was leaping at the time.
Okay, first of all, This is one of the grossest episodes of Quantum Leap. It was literally an 80s women's prison exploitation.
It was like a
movie.
soft-core movie that just didn't have any sex in it.
Exactly. The lady guard was like,
So, God, every time she looked at her, she's like, yeah, you're gonna wash those dishes.
get it from the warden, gonna give it to you. Give it to you good.
We get a weird confirmation that Aaliyah is safe, even though it's very obvious she took a shotgun shot to the gut.
To the gut. So the other evil leaper, the truly evil leaper, who was the hologram, she gets shot and dies.
Sam randomly picks up a rifle from nowhere and then shoots her. It's literally like, where did that come from?
One of the guards. He got it from the guard.
Who's just like, all of a sudden, there it was.
He did get it from a guard. But it's also like, he's a prisoner. He grabs a guard's gun and shoots the warden, and nobody cares.
They're all just standing around like, is this where we start firing?
Wait, what happened? Did you just shoot the warden?
So she dies. The evil hologram, now leaper, dies.
The truly
very
evil.
obviously
Not
dead.
Yeah.
And then she leaps out, and then the warden leaps in, and he's fine.
Right.
This is how you know that it's your own DNA coming through.
All right. It just seems weird too. It just doesn't seem like that.
But the thing is that here's the thing. He randomly says to some guard that was just helping them, that knew the person that Aaliyah jumped into,
right?
Lisa or whatever her name was. She knew her, and so like Sam is stopping. It's a convicted prisoner that's escaped.
A murderer, by the way.
Murderer. They're letting him just chat with his guard for like 4 minutes.
You know me, don't you? Would I say anything like that?
I
guess not.
And then she's like, well, what happened? And he's like, well, I don't know, but we know that she's free. And it's like, yeah, she's dead. She's dead. Yeah. I'm sorry. That's why she was never in another episode.
Well, look,
she's
man,
dead.
Death is
I guess
sometimes
it's
a sweet release of freedom.
I guess.
I keep thinking that more and more every day.
The Evil Leaper actually had been explored before in the season 3 episode The Boogeyman, where Sam leaps into a rider in Maine, in which he inadvertently gives Stephen King a ton of his book ideas.
Christine, what does that mean?
He faces down an evil-looking owl who turns out to be an evil leaper.
I don't know.
Kind of?
I think he's a ghost.
I think he was a demon.
Yeah, or a ghost or something. I mean, because it was the Halloween
Yeah, because everyone around him ends up dying, and then Al is evil, and it's such great effect, too, of, like, them holding on each other while they're spinning.
Yeah.
And, like, Al's turning into all the people that are dead, and, like, eventually the wife who he thought was the killer.
Well, there was a goat that was killing everybody.
That's the best, is at one point he's literally holding onto a goat's throat as they're spinning around.
Yeah, so I think, I don't necessarily think that was an evil leaper. I think that was somehow the ghost of the lady that killed herself or whatever, that got killed in the house.
I always went more on the side of the fact that it wasn't God doing this, and that this is just like, we opened up a new thing where it's like, well, this is what happens when you time travel.
Maybe.
So I always will err on the side of it not being religiously mystical rather than, and then it being just some kind of, but who knows?
It was the 90s, baby. It was a lot of Christian. Look at what happened. A lot of people got mad about stuff.
Also in season 5, Sam leaps into the body of his great-grandfather in 1862 and must woo his great-grandmother, who possibly, before being erased from his existence.
All right, Grammy, I got to make out with you now.
God.
Ugh. And, at the beginning, we're like, oh, man, she's a slave-owning racist. But she was an Underground Railroad lady, and she was a good person.
But I don't think she knew about it.
She did.
Oh, okay.
She did. She just pretended like she
pretend she didn't. Okay, yeah. That makes sense.
Because she had such strong ties with the
Isaac.
Yeah. Was he the rebel dude or the?
Oh no! That was the slave that was helping everybody.
Right.
But
she's tight with him.
Yeah, but the guy who the militia dude who was going around all the time.
She had to fake it, but yeah, I mean, she knew about it because she ended up. Yeah, running away with.
She ran north, and then
she could have stayed,
had babies, and then Isaac turns out to be the great-grandfather or grandfather.
No,
great-grandfather of Martin Luther King Jr.
Yeah, that was a
shoehorned moment. In there.
I think I'll take the name King.
And then the look on poor Scott Bakula's face. Well, I think that's a great name.
I think that's a great name.
Because Al realizes that it's the great-grandfather of Stephen King Jr.
But
Martin Luther King.
But he
Jr.
missed it, Martin Luther King, because he didn't say Martin Luther King.
No,
Jr.
but he said that guy has a son who has a famous name, and then that guy has a son, and then
I think they were lazy and they didn't do the research.
He should have said Jr. Yeah,
he should have.
But apparently the whole jumping back to 1862 doesn't break the rules of leaping, as it's explained very repeatedly in the first 3 episodes of the series, where you can only jump within your own lifetime because of the way the string theory is set up. But apparently because he genetically is identical, his great-grandfather has his DNA, which is impossible.
Right.
But apparently that was enough to make him leap there.
Well, the Civil War was very popular at that time because Ken Burns' documentary was short before that.
And Gettysburg and then eventually like Gods and Monsters. But
Glory.
Was huge. Glory was a big one too. That came in '89. Yeah, I mean it was a big deal. I mean I get it.
You could tell. It's just like in $6 Million Man. You could tell what fad they read about in the newspaper because it was on that show that week. Yeah. It was what movie did they watch before they wrote the Driving Miss Daisy episode? Or
right. It was. Hey guys, I saw this great movie at home.
Ripped from the box office.
It's called the Maltese Falcon. We should totally do an episode about that.
Exactly.
Yeah. In the season 4 opener, a lightning strike at Project Quantum Leap causes Al to jump to 1945, and Sam is able to go home.
It's really fun to watch him be a hologram at the beginning of that episode.
Yeah, he's so confused.
Well, no, he's having a blast. Like,
I just saw the very beginning where he's
like jumping,
realizes,
walking through stuff, and he's like walking through, and Al's like, "Cut it out!"
They actually show Gucci, Tina, and Ziggy for the first time. In the season 4 opener. I actually had to go back. It's funny because I started watching the season 4 opener. I had to go back and watch the season 3 finale because I literally was like, what is going on?
Yeah.
And that one was the season 3 finale. I don't know if you watched that one where he gets shock therapy, is in an insane asylum. And he ends up becoming other people he'd leapt into.
Oh.
So like they couldn't get a lock on him. And Al is like spinning no, that was in the finale, but they couldn't get a lock on him, and then because the brainwave patterns, but they end up using that later with the evil leaper when they hypnotize her into thinking she's somebody else.
Right.
Now look, again, I love this show. I love this show so much.
Adam, if you hypnotize somebody, you automatically change their brainwaves. You didn't know that?
I criticize the show. I'm critical of the show. I shouldn't say criticize. I'm critical of the show because I love the show so much.
Wait a minute. Her brainwaves are gone and they've been replaced by a chicken.
Yeah.
The brainwaves of a chicken.
Yeah.
That's part of the fun, though.
I know. Don't get me wrong. The show's very... I mean, I love it.
I'm sure as a kid you weren't questioning any of it.
I don't think I watched any of this for 30 years.
Yeah.
So, like, watching it again, it was like, wow, I just bought into everything. So the ratings for Quantum Leap started very strong, but NBC couldn't find a proper time slot for the show. The first episode aired Sunday at 9 p.m., and then a week later moved to Friday at 9 p.m. for 4 episodes, and then a week and a half later aired the last 3 episodes of season 1 on Wednesdays at 10 p.m.
Which is a weird time slot. A 10 p.m. time slot seems a little too late for that.
Yeah. I mean, it's before... I mean, for a long time, that was like the prime because it's right before the news, and it was like the last thing people would watch. But yeah, it should have been earlier. It should have been a Sunday show. Like that.
Sunday show's perfect, but that was against The Simpsons, which was juggernaut back then.
Yeah.
And it seems like Friday night would have worked well for that show at like 8 o'clock or something. Yeah. Because it's a show for nerds and kids.
Yeah.
And it's like or Sunday's good. It's just when you keep moving a show around, that kills it. It kills it.
It did find success on Wednesdays at 10 p.m. and the entire second season aired at that time. It then moved to Friday at 8 p.m. for the first half of season 3, then moved back to Wednesday at 10 p.m. for the second half of season 3 and all of season 4.
Okay, what happens is network executives are idiots. And if a show starts having success in a time period, they're like, oh, this is a successful show. Let's put it into another time period that doesn't have success, and then we'll boost up our ratings there. But then everybody likes watching it at that one time frame because it doesn't conflict with other shows that they like or whatever, and they get used to it, and it's part of their ritual. And then they break it up to try to boost ratings for that night, and it ends up killing the show that is an otherwise successful show.
Right.
They end up murdering it because they want
strangling it because it's not. It was successful that time for a reason.
Yes, exactly. And it's you can't just keep bopping stuff around and expecting people to follow it.
God, constantly the '80s, late '80s, and the '90s, they're constantly just shifting.
Yeah, because there were super nights. Like Thursday nights were NBC's for 15 years.
Yeah.
The must-see TV.
Must-see TV.
Friends, Seinfeld, you know, all the way to Parks and Rec and
Yeah.
The Office.
And ABC did it with Friday nights with the all those family shows.
Yeah, Step by Step
and,
and Family Matters.
Family Matters,
and, and My Two Dads, and for years they had TGIF.
Yeah, TJF. Yeah. So season 5 started on Tuesday at 8 p.m. until the last episode of the series, which aired on Wednesday at 9 p.m. because why not? The finale had the 4th highest ratings for the entire season, only being beaten out by the 2-hour premiere and the premiere of season 4, which featured Sam leaping back into himself in the present.
Then the 2-hour one, was that the Lee Harvey Oswald?
No, the 2-hour premiere was the very beginning of the show.
Oh, okay.
The very, very beginning of the show.
Not the 2-hour season 5
No.
premiere.
Sorry, I meant to say the entire series.
Oh, okay.
The finale had the 4th highest ratings for the entire series.
Oh, that makes sense.
Only being beaten out by the 2-hour premiere and the premiere of season 4, which was the one where he goes to 1945 and Al starts sleeping.
Right.
Quantum Leap, they pushed that really hard to see, like, he finally goes home, and so people watched it.
Well, again, like with the Lee Harvey Oswald, that was, again, the resurgence of the whole JFK conspiracy, and you had the Oliver Stone film, and, everybody was talking about, everybody but Oswald did it, and it was interesting that he
did it.
Yeah, and, either he did it, or he tried to do it.
He definitely fired his gun.
And then either
I think he definitely hit him.
Yeah, and then there's the theory that the Secret Service agent
accidentally
shot him, and that's where the magic bullet comes from, which makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, but even if that hadn't happened, Oswald would have fired again and killed him. I mean, that would have been the end.
Oswald was not a good person.
No, he was not.
Just talk to his wife and how much he used to beat her.
He was awful. He read Pravda, for Christ's sake.
Yeah, well, don't do that in front of Donald B. Bellisario, or he'll beat you raw.
So Quantum Leap ended up moving time slots 8 times during the course of its run. And
that is just awful.
Talk about kneecapping a success.
Yeah.
I mean, that's just, ugh.
Well, that's the problem, is they kept interfering in shows. And the problem is every time that they would get a new network president in, they'd have to,
I've got better ideas.
Exactly. They had to get rid of everything that the predecessor did.
Have you tried putting it on 7 a.m. on Monday morning?
Yes, I think it should be on at 4 a.m. on a Saturday.
That's brilliant.
Nobody's watching anything else at that point. We'll dominate.
At the end of season 5, Bellisario was told to write an episode that could serve as a season finale or series finale, as it was unclear whether Quantum Leap would be renewed.
That's a horrible message to get. Hey, we haven't decided yet, so make sure it can end if it ends, because we're not giving you a movie.
It's it's funny because I worked on like 4 seasons of One Tree Hill, and it was that way every single season. Yeah. It was like, this might end as a series, or might end the series, whatever. But
most series are on the bubble all the time. Not every show is Seinfeld.
No.
Every show,
Friends. Yeah.
It's that horrible period between renewals.
Yeah, maybe.
And you're waiting, and then sometimes they don't even tell you till the last second.
Yeah.
You could be on set getting ready to film the new season, and they'll pull the plug.
Nope, just kidding.
Bunch of cowards.
That actually happened recently with Minx.
Yeah.
They were literally on set when she got the news, and then it was like, well, I'm not going to tell anybody, but this is the last episode we're filming.
But I think that went to they went to Stars, I think.
They're gonna, and it got canceled too.
Oh, really?
Yep.
Oh, that's a shame. That was a pretty fun show.
Yeah, it did 1 season on Stars, I think, but it got canceled.
Oh, that's a shame. Yeah. Jake Johnson was really good, and that was an interesting show.
Yeah. So the finale episode contained some answers to long-standing questions about the show, but contained enough ambiguity for a season 6. I'm going to disagree with that and say it did not answer anything. After having watched it again, I still don't really know. I mean, it didn't really answer anything.
No, it didn't.
It gave more idea to the fact that he had more control over it than he thought.
Right.
But he felt like he had to, this man of science had to answer to a higher power.
But it also implies that there are other leapers, because that one guy leaps out after he saves everybody.
Yeah.
And then nobody knows who he is, but he doesn't just leap out of the body. The whole body leaps out of the bar.
Because most likely he was dead.
Or he fulfilled his purgatory or whatever.
Oh, yeah.
And was able to move on.
Get out, yeah.
And and if you're going to look at it in a religious way, and that Bruce McGill was God, then basically what McGill said was, look, man, you can stop this and go home
Right.
at any time.
Right.
It's your own guilt or your own your dedication to
savior
service.
complex. Yeah.
Your own, exactly. Your
Yeah.
own savior complex that is keeping you leaping. You could go home at any time. He's like, I don't believe that.
Well, he wanted to go help Al. Like that was, and he obviously. See, that's the other thing too. That like at the end, the coolest thing about the ending was that it was him realizing that he could go wherever he wanted,
Right.
Because he did.
Yeah.
Like he went and saved Al's first marriage.
Well, they gave Al a happy ending, and they didn't give Sam a happy ending.
No,
so we
but
got a
it's-
half a happy ending, and we didn't get to even see the stupid happy ending. We just got to read it.
Yeah, I know. So if the series was to end, Bellisario originally planned to have Al and Beth as an old married couple discussing how they would locate Sam, who had leapt again. Had the series continued, Bellisario planned to have Sam leap into a space station in the distant future, and Al becoming a leaper himself to rescue Sam.
Okay, interesting.
When the show was not renewed, 2 title cards were tacked on the end of the last episode. One read that Al's first wife Beth never remarried, so they were still married in the present day and had 4 daughters.
Okay, and that was
one
to
of them-
show that he was. Look,
He became not a womanizer.
yeah, and he had 4 daughters to make up for this womanizing.
Yeah, and which one of the daughters actually is in the new series.
Yeah, she
Works on the project.
yes.
Or works for the government that helps fund the project or
I
something.
think at the beginning she's kind of underground.
Yeah.
Not necessarily on the project, but ancillary, trying to stop it or something.
Yeah.
And then she ends up joining them, I think,
okay.
because I kind of jumped around on the
Yeah,
new one a little
yeah.
bit just to kind of get some flavor.
Sure. The last title card said,
Sam Beckett never returned home.
and just to note, the Sam Beckett on that title card was spelled wrong.
Yes, it's so lame.
And then nobody's ever fixed it.
No.
I mean, that's what it blows my mind. It was literally NBC decided the last minute to cancel the series.
Yeah.
Both Donald P. Bellisario and Scott Bakula just hated the way it ended. The finale was met by viewers with very mixed feelings. It's still debated now, as far as I know.
Hey, guys. Bob here. Now, I worked in TV too. And, look, we knew you liked the show, and then we had to ruin it. That's just what we do. We
Yeah.
like to take something that people love and eventually turn them against it so they hate it because it's too profitable.
So
And we need a write-off.
So 28 years later, you could bring it back and capitalize on it again?
We're not going to change that title card, by the way. That would cost us $14. We just don't have the money. See my kids?
All right. Well, thanks, Bob.
My kids smell weird.
Yeah, they do. You smell weird.
Yeah, I know.
Okay. Along with 43 nominations, Quantum Leap received 17 awards, including 6 Emmys. It got 4 for cinematography, 1 for hairstyling, and 1 for makeup.
Nice.
A bunch of books and comic books were written to expand the lore of the show. In July 2002, the Sci-Fi Channel, which at the time was airing reruns of the show, announced development of a 2-hour television film based on Quantum Leap that would have served as a backdoor pilot for a new series with Bellisario as executive producer.
Okay.
Unfortunately, it never went anywhere. In July 2010, during the TV Guide panel at the San Diego Comic-Con, Scott Bakula said that Bellisario was working on a script for a projected Quantum Leap feature film.
Nice.
Bellisario confirmed in October 2017 at the LA Comic-Con that he had finished the script.
Right on.
Unfortunately, it never went anywhere.
Oh.
Yeah. In January 2020, Jeff Bader, NBC's head of programming, planning, and strategy, announced that the network was considering a reboot of Quantum Leap, not a reboot.
Or a reboot.
That's which apparently I say that all the time.
Well, that's what people paddle down rivers in Canada.
a reboot.
I'm getting into my reboot, eh?
They were going to do a reboot of Quantum Leap for the launch of its Peacock streaming service. In January 2022, NBC greenlit a pilot episode of Quantum Leap 6th season revival. Bellisario actually worked on the revival.
Nice.
The pilot would take place 30 years after the conclusion of the original series, with the new team reviving Project Quantum Leap to understand both it and the fate of Sam Beckett. Raymond Lee was signed to star in the pilot in the role of Dr. Ben Song, the person that ends up traveling back in time through the Quantum Leap project.
He's very good. He's very charismatic.
I like him a lot. Yeah. Ernie Hudson was cast as Herbert Magic Williams, the lead of the new Quantum Leap program, and a Vietnam War veteran whom Sam leaped into in the season 3 episode Leap Home Part 2 Vietnam.
Ooh.
NBC gave the green light for a full season order in May of 2022.
Nice.
And it premiered on September 19th, 2022, airing on Monday nights. In September of 2022, around the time that it premiered, original series star Scott Bakula confirmed that he had been asked by producers to reprise his role as Sam Beckett in the revival, but ultimately decided to not be involved in the new series, saying in a statement on Instagram,
"As the show has always been near and dear to my heart, it was a very difficult decision to pass on the project."
well, they are now into a season 2, and I feel like
Cha-ching, cha-ching.
Scott Bakula is probably going to be on the show at some point.
100%. He was just waiting to see if it was going to be a success because he didn't
Yeah.
want to lend himself to a poo-poo platter. So now that the show's taken off, I'm sure he's going to be on it. I hope he is. I really do, because this is the best kind of resurgence of a show.
Exactly.
Where you don't discount the first show.
No.
You build upon it.
Build. That's
And,
the important part.
Yeah, and it's a really great complementary series to the show.
It really feels like the new show is doing what they were trying to do in season 5.
Right.
Of like giving it more mythology and like expanding out like a larger story rather than just being an anthology series, like giving it an actual like storyline.
Well, like the whole reason, because in the pilot episode, his wife is supposed to be the jumper.
Yeah. Yeah.
She's been training to do the jumping, and she's about to do the first jump. Leaping, sorry. The leapers. She's a leaper. And then they go out on this date. They have this party or whatever.
It's his birthday.
It's his birthday party, and they have this good time, and then boom.
Well, he gets all these text messages.
Right. And
he
then
just runs.
Disappears, and he does the leap without telling anybody why.
Yeah, and
then
he gives her a voice message or a video message saying, "I'm sorry, I had to do it. You'll understand why eventually."
And we do, and it makes sense why he did it. But I like the new cast. I think they have some really interesting people involved, and
I think the two leads, the I don't know her name, the one who plays Augustine,
right?
They're both really good. The
great chemistry.
They're really good. They have great chemistry.
Sam had a good heart.
He did.
And it didn't matter.
He did.
What color, creed, sexual orientation, whatever you were.
No.
He always did the right thing, and he was always on the side of what was right.
Yeah, you were worthy of saving, regardless of who you were. It was about making humanity better.
Right.
And that was the thing that I really appreciated in the finale of him talking to Bruce McGill, maybe Al or maybe God, whoever.
Yeah.
But he's like, oh yeah, I was supposed to do this to like change the world, and he's like, what have I done? I've just I've talked to a few people, and he's like, yeah, but
but they talk to people.
They talk to people, and then it was like, you're spreading positivity everywhere.
Right. And he enjoys saving people, and like Bruce McGill said, if he wants to stop it, stop it.
Yeah,
it's up to
he
you.
can. He totally can.
And I think the reason why he doesn't want to believe it is because it gives him an excuse not to stop it.
Right.
Right. Because
he wants to believe it's out of his control. Because he can't bear the weight of the fact that he has to fix everything.
Oh, it must be exhausting, man. I mean, you don't really stay anywhere long enough to get some sleep.
He's gonna sleep sometimes.
Where?
There's obviously parts in the show that we're not seeing.
I'm just saying, it's like it would be nice to leap into a cabin for a couple of weeks, and the thing you have to fix is the TV, so you can watch it.
Yeah. I just love the episode because that was the same thing because it started the episode with Neil Patrick Harris with the greaser racer guys,
Jesus.
and he jumps into this nerdy kid and. He goes up and the lady at the car hop comes out and she's like, here's your regular meal, and it's like 2 cheeseburgers and a fries and a milkshake and a soda, and he just looks at it, it's just like and just mouths down on one of the burgers.
That must have been fun. Yeah, Scott Bakula is the perfect guy for this part.
Yeah.
And just like our last one, I think they cast it perfectly.
Yeah.
And like we said, he makes up for whatever shortcomings they have because you just root for him.
Yeah, you want him to succeed.
And Bakula he can portray earnestness and forthrightness in a way that doesn't make me want to kill him.
Doesn't get drippy and schmaltzy.
Yes, it isn't just
melodramatic.
Exactly. Yeah. Sometimes it goes in that route.
And man, the writing tried really hard to go that way.
Oh man, the trilogy went super melodramatic a few times. And my God, what was the episode I guess it was the finale where it's like, I'm finally winning an Emmy because I'm going to cry 16 times.
He cried a lot. Well,
Direct-
it was also like, they shot it for 5 years. Like, I
Director's
get
like,
it.
look, man, we got to cut out one of the cries now. This is just too much crying.
No, it's just how I am.
I'm getting an Emmy, goddammit. This is my last chance.
I love the show. I love time travel. I love. For me, it was different aspects. I'd definitely gone into time travel before this, like
Right.
Back to the Future and stuff like that. But like, this was such a different aspect of
Mm-hmm.
time travel that hasn't really been explored too much otherwise. Like,
No, it was one of the first shows to deal with string theory, which was very rare at the time. People didn't really know a lot about it, didn't know a lot about quantum entanglement or quantum physics.
Right.
And it did it in a way that was easily digestible and
you
and
could follow along pretty easily.
and I watched Quantum Leap when it was on. I would catch it, right?
Yeah,
It wasn't something that I had to see. I was in college for most of it, but I really enjoyed watching it again.
Yeah.
And I was like, I'll watch a couple episodes just to familiarize myself with it. But I ended up watching 30 or so.
Probably like half the shows.
Because I got sucked in and I really enjoyed it and it was really fun. And it, again, is a great time capsule of the late 80s, early 90s. And it was really fun to watch how TV changed from the 70s to the late 80s, 90s, like to see what we went through from the laid back 70s and after we went through the rah-rah Reagan 80s, where we were at.
Right.
And a lot of what was on there was backlash to the Reagan 80s and also continuing of that kind of patriotic
for sure.
thing. Because he's very much a patriot. He's very much, when he goes home, it's just like all the chores are done, Dad. I got everything done. Please love me.
Yeah. Well, that was the pilot, the 2-hour pilot, like him, calling his dad and then like, I'm your dad's brother's son and my name's Sam too. And
it's so crazy. The guy's still like, oh, okay, well, if you're ever in town, stop by. And,
why don't you come here for Thanksgiving?
You crazy weirdo.
I just love the show. It's so good. And you can easily bounce around it. There's no reason, there's definitely things that change as the show progresses.
There are a few through lines in this show.
But very rare and it's good. It's fun. I mean, to the extent that at the end of the first season, he leaps into a woman, and that's the end of the first season. And then the second season starts. And that episode that he leaps on that woman isn't until like the 4th episode.
Yeah.
So even they were like, whatever, it's fine. Like he can jump around, it's fine.
Yeah. Yes. They play a little fast and loose with the rules, but that's fine. I mean, you have to do that. Again, we've talked about this ad nauseum. If you really start dissecting any time travel product,
right,
you're going to go insane and you're going to end up destroying it because none of it stands up to scrutiny. Even the best, most thought out, time travel.
The most intricate, most thought out time travel movie ever is Primer.
Yeah.
And go ahead, try to figure out, even with help, that movie is so confusing.
You mean even with a primer?
It's so confusing. I love that movie so much, but I literally, every time I watch it, it's like watching it for the first time.
Yeah.
Because it's so confusing.
And we've spoken about Loki and how that does a really good job.
It did a great job,
justifying time travel and talking about it. And it's just such a neat concept. It's fun. It's fun that you started out with this show. It's funny that this was, one of your first loves because it is such a dramatic adult show.
I know.
It's you could see which episodes were on at 8 and which ones were on at 10.
Yeah.
But it's also it's a smart show, and it shows in you that it was like important to your origin story.
Me,
you know what
to
I
who
mean?
I am.
And it's like, you have very good morals that aren't based in any sort of theology or anything. It's just doing the right thing.
Yeah.
And I think I do too. And I think, much as I got mine from Steve Austin, I think you got yours from Sam Beckett.
I did. He did.
And your parents, of course.
And my, yes. But it was good. He was a good example. I mean, he was a good person to look up to.
Yes.
Because he was always doing the right thing.
Yes.
And And sometimes the detriment of others, and friends, like when he could have saved Al from a POW camp, but didn't because he wanted to save his brother. And Al's like, yeah, I get it.
Human. You're human.
Yeah. But yeah,
he was a very human hero, and I think those are the best kind.
It helped me realize that I care about people and that, I want to help people succeed. And,
yeah.
And that was Sam Beckett. Like he wanted to have everybody have the best in their lives.
But I also, just to give us a little bit of a devil's advocate here, I also think a lot of these shows that we watch also added to our hero complex.
Yes, for sure.
Which finally got rid of, which was very detrimental.
Good 20 years I had a savior complex.
Yeah, and I think it's a very cool sounding horrible mental illness.
It is.
But I think, if that comes from trauma and that comes from life, but I think it exacerbates it because so many of the heroes always do the right thing, always sacrifice, always, and people aren't like that.
No.
Yes, people are heroes and people do the right thing, but nobody is selfless. And if you're 100% selfless, then it's not even authentic, if that makes sense.
No.
Because you're only doing it because
it comes off like obviously you need this for some reason.
Right.
Like it's weird.
Right. And I think he had that. I think there was something in his past or whatever. And look, I think it comes from his sister marrying a abusive alcoholic and his brother dying in Vietnam and
his dad dying of a heart attack
and being helpless.
Yeah, not being able to do anything to stop any of it.
Couldn't save any of his family. And then when he gets back and given a chance to do that, and he tries so hard, and his dad's just like, get off my back.
Yeah.
I'm going to smoke my ciggies.
Yeah.
I'm going to eat my eats. Yeah. And I'm going to live life. I'm the healthiest man in the world. You're not going to tell me to stop. And then how do you tell an 11-year-old girl, don't marry that guy in 10 years because he's going to be a jerk. So I get it. And, maybe he's, in my opinion, he's trying to make up for the fact that he couldn't save his family, and he's trying to save everybody else.
I agree. And at the end of the show, and this is what I would find really fascinating about the end of the show, is that technically he didn't learn the lesson.
No.
Like he could have, if he had just accepted the fact that he had no control, then he would have leapt home and he would have been fine.
Or that he had control.
Yeah. Yes.
That he had control over his own destiny. And that's the part that he's afraid of, right?
Well, yeah. I mean no control in the fact that things happen to people and you can't stop that.
Yes. He has no control over...
He needs to be able to let go of certain things and realize that he needs to take care of himself.
Right. And then he can't save everybody because he's not God.
Yeah.
He's just a dude, a guy with a good heart, but, you're going to burn out.
Yeah.
And you're going to hate people.
Well, he can't be God because we all know Bruce McGill is God.
Yeah. Well, he also says no. He pretty much definitively said no.
Wouldn't God say no?
I don't think so. God's not a dick, I would hope.
But God wants him to realize he needs to discover these things on his own.
I think it was...
I don't believe it's God.
I think it was like a way station for... I think as time went on, more people leapt.
Yeah.
And I think that these people were leapers, that
Yeah. I mean, they were, I think it was a weird, I mean, this is why I'm really hoping that Scott Bakula comes back for the new show because I like the idea that he realized he could leap wherever he wanted to.
Yeah.
And like have that work into the overall story of the show.
Right.
Because obviously there's more people leaping because there's evil leapers. So, like,
evil leapers.
Obviously there's more people leaping. They have other technology. That might have been from even further in the future, But, like, they're obviously, for whatever reason, and granted, I haven't gotten to the Leaper X stuff yet in the new show. So.
Well, if you've watched the movie Terminator, I think you know the plot. Yeah. They even make fun of themselves for completely ripping off the plot of Terminator.
But whatever. I'm excited to watch more of the show. I had stayed away from it because I thought it was going to be another kind of awful...
soulless remake like Magnum P.I.
Yeah, like just like, bleh, who cares?
Let's take a beloved character and ruin him.
But they're doing a great job, and I'm excited to watch more of it.
Because they did the right thing, right? They made it a continuation rather than a reboot.
A reboot.
And a remake, which always ruins it for people because, the best way to do it is to continue the story rather than negate the story.
It's acknowledging that it's still there and appreciating it, and then and this is the best kind of storyline to do that.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, it's the easiest way. Like,
because it's and it's a great show because it's different every week, and you can
Yeah.
do whatever genre you want. And it's a lot of fun.
it's super fun. All right, well, that's all I got.
What a fun time watching that.
It was good. I'm so glad you got so much into it because
Yeah.
I was really thought you're just gonna be like, eh.
I thought so too, but it's really fun show, and it's a very unique show. And I forgot how charming Scott Bakula is.
Oh, he's so good.
Even
Man,
though he's
Dean
so weird
Stockwell.
looking.
God, he's so good.
I mean, Bakula's got a weird face.
He does. You know that's the best is that he leaps and then he has that like gray.
Weird little gray thing.
And he doesn't realize it until literally the last episode of the show.
Oh, here my gray.
He's like, oh my God.
Well, that was the funny thing too about when he saw the reflection of his great grandfather. He had the
Right.
same little skunky
The little
gray
little
thing
gray
in there. Yeah, it was.
It was, I can't imagine leaping for 5 years straight and never being able to see yourself in a mirror.
Yeah.
Like, that's weird.
Yeah, he only saw himself maybe once.
Would he look down? Would he see his own hands?
No.
He would just see I mean, I don't know. So again, going too deep into it.
Because that's the thing. It just feels like the essence leaps into the body rather than
Yeah.
the whole body does. And that's why it seems weird to me that your DNA leaps into somebody
No,
else's
it's your whole body. It is literally your whole body is leaping. It's just the outside spirit aura stays. So that way.
I think he's a quantum creep. That's what I'm saying.
All right. Well, we'll be back next week. We're going to cover our last First Love.
Yeah. Stephen King, the early years.
Oh, yeah.
Volume 1.
70s and 80s Stephen King. So excited about this.
Oh, my goodness. Gonna give you the creeps.
It goes a little into the 90s a little bit, but it's good stuff.
Yeah. It's our first foray into King. We're definitely going to probably have a King month, and we're going to,
There's so many of his movies we need to
we got to do the
cover.
movies,
Yeah.
and we're only doing the 80s in the writing, and that means we
Yeah.
have 40 more years, and I'll talk a little bit about his latest book, Holly, which I finished.
Nice. Yeah, I'm
which
about
was great.
5 books behind, I think.
What's really funny is I've realized, or I've noticed, or realized, could be both, that when I read his books now, I'll get to about 20, 30, maybe 100 pages left, and I'll stop because I don't want to finish it.
Oh, yeah.
So
yeah.
I'll wait, and then I'll
And then
finish it.
finally, like,
And then,
okay.
and that's what I did with this one and the fairy tales, the last one, because I didn't want them to end.
Yeah.
And
They're so good.
still writing amazing
Yeah,
work.
still fantastic.
Yeah, baby.
All right, we'll come back next week for that.
Come back for the Evil Leapers. Evil Leaper.
It's such a it doesn't make any sense because it doesn't fit with the
You're doing the song this time, my friend.
virtuistic virtuistic musical talent.
We now return you to your regularly scheduled programming, The Incredible Hulk, already in progress.